All right, let's dive into something pretty incredible today. We're looking at a report called The Great Uranium Squeeze, and trust me, it suggests the future of global energy is about to get turned completely on its head. And the reasons why, they are not what you think. So the whole thing kicks off with this really powerful question. What if the biggest story in energy isn't oil? It's not solar, it's not wind. What if it's been hiding in plain sight this whole time, in a market that, let's be honest, most of us have completely overlooked? Okay, first up, are we in a new uranium supercycle? Pretty much everyone agrees we are, and they all point to the usual suspects, right? New nuclear plants popping up in China and India. But this analysis says, no, that's not the real story. That's just the baseline. It's the tip of the iceberg. What's really going on, according to this report, is something fundamentally new. We're talking about a structural change that is completely reordering the entire uranium market. And the epicenter of this massive shift, it's not in Beijing, it's not in Mumbai, it's in Africa. So what's the catalyst for all this? Well, it's a huge technological leap forward called the Small Modular Reactor, or SMR. And listen, this isn't just a smaller version of some old, clunky power plant. No way. It's a completely new way of thinking about nuclear energy. And this right here shows you the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, traditional plants that are absolute Goliaths. They cost tens of billions of dollars and take decades to build. But on the right, you have SMRs. They're built in a factory, they're modular, tiny footprint. But the most important difference, the real game changer, it's the cost. We're going from $10 to $30 billion all the way down to just $1 to $3 billion. You see, this is the key. This one number unlocks the door. All of a sudden, for the first time ever, nuclear power is actually affordable for developing nations, and that completely changes the global energy equation. And this is why SMRs are so unbelievably crucial for Africa's industrial goals. See, unlike solar or wind, which, they don't work when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing, SMRs provide constant, reliable 24/7 power. It's the kind of intense, high-heat energy that you absolutely need for heavy industry. We're talking large-scale mining, desalination plants, and even producing green hydrogen. So this tech shift is driving a massive geopolitical pivot. African nations, who for decades have been the source of raw uranium, often called yellowcake for the rest of the world, are starting to stand up and say, no more. They're shifting from just exporting their resources to actually using them for their own development. The report calls it the end of yellowcake colonialism. And this quote, wow, it says it all. In September 2025, right after nationalizing a major mine that used to be controlled by France, Niger's Minister of Mines declared, our uranium will now power Niger. And this isn't just talk. They're already in discussions with Russia's Rosatom for a huge 2,000 megawatt nuclear project. The signal is crystal clear. The fuel is staying home. And this trend is picking up speed. Just look at Tanzania. They just launched a facility that can produce 3,000 tons of uranium a year. That instantly makes them a top 10 global producer. And the crucial part? They've explicitly stated this project is about their own domestic energy security, not just feeding the global export market. Okay, so this is where it gets really, really interesting. We've got the accessible technology, and we've got this major geopolitical shift. But there's another hidden factor that just supercharges the impact of all this. It's a little technical detail about the actual fuel these new reactors use. It's a thing called HALEU, that's high-assay, low-enriched uranium. The easiest way to think about it is like this. It's the premium, high-octane fuel for these next-generation reactors. It's way more powerful, but, and this is a big but, it comes with a crucial consequence for the entire supply chain. And this chart shows that impact perfectly. As you can see, to produce HALEU fuel, you need about 40% more raw uranium ore, what the industry calls U3O8, than you do for traditional fuel. So what does that mean? It means for every new SMR that comes online, the demand for raw uranium isn't one for one, it's multiplied. And then on top of that, you have what the report calls the first fill shock. See, to start a new reactor, you need this massive one-time load of fuel just to get it going. For the SMRs already planned in Africa by 2035, that first fill alone is estimated to gobble up 20 million pounds of uranium. That is a huge chunk of demand hitting the market all at once. Okay, so let's connect the dots here. Cheaper technology creates a whole new class of customers. Those new customers decide to keep their own resources for themselves, and the brand new fuel they need actually multiplies the demand for that resource. This is the heart of the report's thesis, the sovereign squeeze. And the strategy they're using, which was really pioneered by Russia and China, is a total game changer. It's called a closed loop. African nations mine their own ore, they process it in their own facilities, they turn it into fuel for their own reactors, and then they use that power for their own industrialization. The crucial point here is the uranium never ever hits the open global market. And the numbers here are just staggering. If these African producers just sequester or hold back only 20% of their output for their own use, that removes over 7 million pounds of uranium from the global export market every single year. That supply doesn't just get delayed, it simply vanishes from the pool that's available to everyone else. And here it is, the bottom line. This table lays it all out, comparing the standard business-as-usual forecast with this new sovereign squeeze reality. The supply deficit gets way bigger, export availability shrinks, and then look at the price. The mainstream forecast is sitting around $180 a pound. But in this new reality, the report projects a price of over $275 per pound. It's a whole different world. So what does this all mean? Well, the report concludes this isn't some temporary market fluctuation. This is a permanent structural shift in how one of the world's most critical energy commodities is controlled and valued.
And the report uses this absolutely brilliant analogy to sum the whole thing up. The gas station is buying the cars. Think about that for a second. The producers of the raw fuel are now becoming the primary consumers of the technology that actually uses it. This completely flips the traditional supply and demand dynamic right on its head.
So if there's one single thing to take away from this entire analysis, it's this. Uranium is no longer just another commodity to be bought and sold on the open market. It is transforming, right now, into a strategic national asset, something to be hoarded and protected for a country's own energy security and industrial future. And that leaves us all with a final, pretty provocative question. As the nations that actually produce this critical resource start building their own closed-loop ecosystems, who exactly is going to be left bidding for the scraps on the open market? And what price will they ultimately be forced to pay?